thank you to our listeners for being here today. Kerri, it's so great to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
So catch us up, because you left Northern California, our area, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago, to chase this dream in Wisconsin, right?
Yes, we did.
Okay, so what has transpired over that time frame to get you to today?
Oh, so many things. Well, I think where we were 4 years ago was in the middle of a pandemic with the rest of the world. And I had my own business. I ran a daycare out of my home. So joyful. My husband was a winemaker and we lived in Sonoma County, California. But my husband's originally from Wisconsin, Calumet County, Wisconsin, and had really been thinking about the idea of moving to Wisconsin and starting a winery there. So I wasn't ready. I'm a Southern girl from Louisiana, so the winters just seemed really like a hurdle for me. We'll say it that way. But, it's a beautiful state. There's so much here that Wisconsin has to offer. And I just needed time. I needed a little bit of time to warm up to the idea, so to speak. So the timing somehow was right. It'll be 4 years in May. And we were evacuated from a wildfire at the time. We were in a hotel and made a decision at that moment to sell our things, say goodbye to California, and move to Wisconsin and start a winery and slowly buy the family homestead from Jon's folks. So that's sort of like the short version of it. And so this is year 4.
Okay, this is year 4, but when did the winery open?
June of last year.
Give us an idea. How is it going? What is it like?
It is so much fun and it is so much work. And it's funny because we aren't the type of people that typically open wineries. We're hardworking folks who, we both still have day jobs, right? We're just kind of building our dreams slowly and surely in ways that make sense for us. We It took us about 3 years to renovate the barn and some of the sheds that were on the property into a production space for the winery and the barn as a venue, both for the tasting room and for other types of events like weddings and corporate events, things like that. So it took us, those years while working other jobs to get it to a place where it needed to be. And in that time, we were also, interfacing with the township, the county, the state, and the federal government because, anything with producing alcohol, everybody's hands are in the pots, right? So there was a lot of back end work that we needed to do. Our insurance, meet with the lawyer, draw up contracts. So it just, it takes a while.
And so you mentioned day jobs. Do you still currently have a day job?
Yes, we both do.
How are you doing this? So how are you getting a winery and an event space started while still working?
I have to have a great sense of humor about my day-to-day life because it does feel like a lot of juggling all the time. But the big picture for me is what holds it together is that knowing that for us, it's more than a business, it's a lifestyle and it's a legacy truly, because we didn't just open a winery. We also planted 900 native trees on the property. We also organized volunteers to come and help us plant those trees, plant a bunch of different, things in the ground that can help pollinators and help the birds and really create habitat in our community, in our little, corner of what I call paradise. So it's a bigger picture of land stewardship that we're trying to bring, into the farm and into our area.
Okay, so I've never been to Wisconsin before, and I don't know where your area is. I couldn't pinpoint it on a map. Is there enough of a population there in order to support a winery and an event space? Like, where are you tapping into your clientele?
That's a great question. We are really nicely located between Lake Michigan in like northeast Wisconsin, between Lake Michigan and Lake Winnebago. So we're sort of centrally located between those two lakes, and we are surrounded by, mid-size, I would say like mid-size to large cities. So we're about 40 minutes from Green Bay, 30 minutes from Appleton, 30 minutes from Fond du Lac, Sheboygan, and Manitowoc. All of these areas are a little bit bigger in population and have a lot more going on than our specific town where we live. So we pull a lot from those areas. A lot of people are coming in, and even Chicago, we have quite a few people that have been to the tasting room, surprisingly, from as far away as Chicago. So we're pretty happy about, Milwaukee, lots of other places that people have stopped in from.
So, between locals and tourists, what sort of a division are you looking at there?
Ooh, that is a great question. I am not currently tracking that very well, to be honest with you. I feel like the word of mouth has taken off in the community, and we've gotten so much wonderful support from our local chamber of commerce, in both in New Holstein and Chilton. And so I feel like we get a fair amount of locals, and then on the weekends, Saturdays primarily, we're getting a lot of out of town people that are heading up to go camping in one of our beautiful parks here, or passing through up to their summer cabins up north.
So, what is the hope for the land? Like, how will it generate income? It's a winery, but we all know from being in wine country here that when you harvest this year, you're not going to reap the benefits of those grapes for a few years because they need to turn into wine. So, how is Fox? Oh, sorry, it's Fox and Wolf. How is Fox and Wolf
Wolf and
currently
Fox.
earning revenue? How is Wolf and Fox currently earning revenue?
So we're sort of doing, our main two income streams are venue rentals and wine sales. So we started venue rentals last year, and we're booking weddings for this year. So we had a few weddings on the books this year. Actually, we had a few weddings last year as well, because some brave couples walked around while we were doing construction, and we weren't even open yet, and they said, we want to get married here. So kudos to them for having faith in us, and they went really beautifully. So yeah, mainly just by rentals. We've had a few like employee parties already. We've even had, this was really sweet. We even had a memorial service in the barn for a veterinarian who had worked in our barn. And his family thought that it would be a really sweet way to send him out. So, yeah, it's been really wonderful. The wine sales started in June, and we've paired that with having music in the barn, which has been a huge hit. So we have barn concerts every Saturday this summer, afternoon concerts, all ages, and lots of different types of music. So that usually brings a crowd out for wine tasting and hanging out with family and friends.
And when the crowd comes out beyond wine tasting, are they able to order other drinks or food, or what is give us an idea of what it's like to step foot into a barn concert?
Here in Wisconsin, which is unique, I think, we have a manufacturing license to produce the wine. And therefore, with that license, we're able to sell all the things. So we can sell beer, cider, seltzer. Not we sell non-alcoholic mixed drinks, non-alcoholic beer. We're working on non-alcoholic wine, but it's in process right now. We also have bar snacks. So we live in Wisconsin. Cheese is major in this state. So we've partnered with a local business for them to help us get a selection of cheeses, crackers. We have nuts, chocolates, chocolate covered cherries, all sorts of things that people can come. We don't yet have a commercial kitchen license. So we think that might be something that can unfold in the future.
But that is a plan, is to try to start
Yeah.
offering
Or
food,
partner,
more food?
yeah, or partner with a chef or someone that can hold that end of it so that we can focus on wine and events.
Okay, so you've still got your day job. You're
Yeah.
now throwing events, both community barn concerts, also renting out for weddings, and now the winery. When will you make the leap and let go of your day job?
um, it's tough. Like we made the decision to self-finance our business, which I know has people have like all the feelings about that, but that has to do with our long-term goals and purchasing the farm and not having, if anything were to go south with, the business, or something happened to one or both of us, we would just want to make sure that the farm is protected and that it's something that we can continue to enjoy and share with not only family, but part of us opening this business was to really share it with the public, with the community. Because I think land like that should be shared, should be open, should be something that everybody can walk around and see.
How much land are we talking? So you mentioned the beauty of the land. You mentioned over 900 trees being planted. Describe the property to us.
Well, it's funny because Jon would probably want me to talk about the grapes, but I feel like it's both and, right? So there's total 180 acres, and on it, it's arable land, so crops, or land that can be used, productive land. There's also wetlands. There's also forest, and two creeks converge on the land, and there's a pond. So there's quite a lot of different like ecosystems going on there. And we've been working with our local NRCS, which is like a conservation organization that helps us understand, the health, what's going on in our woods, and how we can make it better, and what trees that we should be planting for regeneration of the land. So things like that. We've also partnered with a friend of ours who's become a friend of ours, actually, a sheep farmer who he is pasturing ewes on our back 40 this spring. So we'll get them as soon as right after lambing, they'll come. And so we'll have that going on as well. So it's total 180 to answer your question. But we own 40 acres right now. Yep. So that's what we're tending to and cultivating right now.
So, with that diverse landscape, would you ever consider creating a glamping type situation where multiple people could stay at once, or if somebody decided that they wanted to have a wedding weekend and invite their closest 80 friends, would there be the potential that they could stay at the property in tents?
I love this question so much because if it was up to me, it would already be happening. But alas, this is probably phase 10, because there's like because my dear husband Jon is really good at pumping the brakes. But that is something that we're hoping for in the future. There's a little bit more liability involved in overnights with a pond and open water. So there would just be a lot more things we'd need to have in place, licensing and insurance wise, to even consider that. But yes, absolutely.
It sounds like there's a lot of potential for all of the directions you could go with this. So, okay, you're open for year one of business. What kind of growth are you expecting from last season? And we haven't even discussed the seasonality of your business. But when are you operating and what do you expect last year to look like in comparison to this year?
I don't really think about I'm not really comparing yet, last year to this year because I still feel like I'm just really in it. I feel like I'm like day to day, week to week. And right now, for example, I'm planning all of the summer music. In fact, our lineup is done. I just need to create the flyer for it or the poster. Um, so it's I haven't had that perspective, that bird's eye view yet of last year versus this year. What I will say is that we were really happy with our wine sales, and we did. I guess we've booked double this year than we did last year, so that's great. And then we've been giving tours for next year, weddings and such. So it's all moving along. And I'm getting more. One of the things that I put out I guess, in the universe was that I want to call in more artists and makers, crafts folks that would like to come and teach and skill share in the barn because I feel like there's a great opportunity to share like for example, I have a friend, Natalie, who's a fiber artist. She's going to be using the wool from the sheep that are on our farm to create wool products, and I was like, why don't you just come and do that here and open that up to the public? And she just was super excited about it. So we're dreaming up all the things. And I know that I should probably be getting a little more practical about sales and numbers, but I still feel like we're in a space of dreaming in a way.
Well, and you had mentioned that this is a lifestyle business, so you really get to pick and choose what fills you up. So, a maker series, it sounds like these community events, potentially glamping. Obviously, there's the winery and the wine, which is an anchor there. What else are you thinking up?
I am thinking of variety shows, theater, like community theater, children's programming, like nature based. I mean, once an early childhood educator, always an early childhood educator. So I'm thinking of school programming for so once of all of our perennial gardens are mature and our diverse food forest is mature, to invite the public, school kids to come and be able to see oh, this is what a honeyberry looks like, or this is what a goji berry looks like. So yeah, I have that in me as well. So having that long-term vision of being able to not only have a place to drink wine, but also just to spend the day and maybe learn one thing or two, while you're at it.
And how are you two picking and choosing these? Are you sitting down together and just throwing
Um,
ideas out? Like what does the ideation look like?
well, we're people we're both curious. We both love music and the arts in general. Jon also has a degree, a fine arts degree. So that's what we end up doing for fun, is being around artists, musicians, makers, and so that's what inspires us. And if we're going to build a business, then we need to be doing things that inspire us. And one of the things that's really fun and that we just did was we just did a blind tasting in order to figure out what kind of like how we want our new petite pearl that's in barrel right now the oak profile on it, how we want it basically to pull out what's good, what's wonderful about this varietal, which a lot of people don't know about, and to soften the edges and to make it something that is just a really delicious Wisconsin wine. And for me, that's like science, but it's also art, it's also sensory. And so I feel like if we can get the artists, the chefs, the other makers in the room, it would just be so fun to be doing that all the time.
And when you're doing these summer series concerts or you're inviting artists in to do a workshop, how many people realistically can come and attend one of these?
So our capacity is 175 max. That's how much room we have in the barn. And we always sort of try to keep our events limited to that amount, because it's not like we can, in bad weather, all we have is the barn. So, so it's important for us to keep it at that number. So a lot of most of our events are ticketed events. Some of them are free, but you still have to reserve a ticket, just so that we can keep at capacity.
And then how do you handle the staffing going from not necessarily needing anybody there if you're closed? I assume you're closed for some of the weekdays. Actually, I don't know what are your hours?
So, so the venue operates seasonally since the barn is not climate controlled. So we open into May, and then through October, like mid-October is our kind of season. And then the winter, we kind of shift gears and we move to our production space in the winter for wine tasting. And those hours are Thursday, Friday, and Saturdays from 1 to 5:30 right now.
So then from May to mid-October, when you have these occasional summer series and let's say you pack the house and you get 175 people there, how are you staffing this?
Well, Jon and I can handle that number. Like for weddings, we do that. We, because we just, we have ways over time to be able to manage crowds. We have our bar packages arranged in a way that make it doable for two people. And our parking is like, you don't need a parking attendant. People can self park. We have good signage. So typically we can handle it just the two of us. We do have family members as well, always willing to help. So that's nice. But I hope to be able to start hiring folks in the community. So we'll just see what the numbers are and what the ticket sales look like, and however it unfolds in the next year. I'm hoping to be able to get a few more people on board to help with some of those events. And also that will help us to extend our open hours. Right now we're pretty limited in our hours, but hopefully, we can start to branch out a little bit.
Well, yeah, with day jobs and then running it lean this way with you two running the show, you must be around the clock busy.
Yes. And we have two kids, so it's a lot.
Okay, so I know that that's got to be one of the hardest parts is just juggling having all of these things going on at the same time between being a mom or parents, I should say, and running this business, but then also having your day jobs beyond that, specifically when it comes to the starting and getting ready and running of your business. What are the most challenging parts?
To get started in our industry, it was all of the like licensing and permitting that we had to do. There was a lot involved with that, not only for like construction and inspections, but also, production spaces are different than other types of licensing. So there was just a lot of kind of logistical stuff that we had to figure out, or find people that, find our people.
And
And
did you do this yourselves or did you hire somebody to help you with this?
no, we did it ourselves, which that's probably why it took so long. um, but we know we're in for the long haul, and so we were willing to put in the work. And I think we also are people that it's really difficult for us to let go. of something when we can learn a new skill. And we're both like that. So I think it's a good way to be in the world in general. But when you're both kind of starting a business, sometimes I feel like we should just be like, no, we should just, you know, contract that out, or, find somebody else and get it done quicker. So we need to balance that. That's hard. And then I would say the other piece is, now what's hard is, I feel like there's this running list of to-dos. It's a punch list, right? And we use a giant, like a wiper board, dry erase board. And we have like different sections on our dry erase board. Because we were using like things on a computer, but what we found was like it just wasn't big enough, and we couldn't use it in the way that we needed to. We were visual and we needed to. So like, it's hard to find the time to go over what I call scope of work, right? So there's like the farm and the homestead stuff. So that includes like chicken chores and, cats going to the vet, like all the kind of stuff. Then there's planting and vineyard maintenance, and orchard maintenance and perennial garden and, all that kind of stuff. And then there's like winery production. And then there's like other, and then there's venue. And then there's all the administrative stuff. So staying organized, I guess, and making sure that the big picture, there's things that we're returning to and, checking off in a way that it makes sense.
So this giant punch list on a whiteboard is like those categories that you were mentioning are like the headers.
Yeah.
And then underneath, you've divided it up into the sort of micro tasks underneath.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we'll put our name on it. Like, he'll do this or I'll do that, like whoever's job, and then we'll put a date if there's like, oh, this needs to be done by this date or this date.
Does it ever shrink or does it just grow?
It doesn't. Sometimes we've chosen to take things off that feel like, oh, we're just not going to do that, But so far it's not shrinking.
What do you do about the decision-making process? So what motivates your decisions? It sounds like it's not entirely income. It's not all entirely like a fiscal return that you're looking for. You'd mentioned lifestyle, the community. So like what drives your decisions?
I think our vision and our values and our vision really have to do with a life that we love and want to show up for, and cultivating, like doing the things that we want to be doing on our terms. So you're right. Like, while money is, something that drives decision making, it's not the number one for us. We want to have a lifestyle that we both can feel like spaciousness about, be able to go on vacation every once in a while. So if you know any farm sitters, um, and also just like be with our kids. I mean, one of the reasons why we don't work on Sundays is because we call it Kids Day, and they get to decide what we do, and we're not allowed to work. So, so a lot of times, we'll do, whatever they want to do. They like rock climbing, or we'll go to the woods and make fires in the woods, or Roger really wants me to play video games, which, sometimes we have to do things that they want to do.
You said video games and I was like, oh, she's probably not that into that.
No, but we all do hard things.
So how successful does this business need to be? Like how driven are you? How ambitious are you? Do you have a target number in mind that you're like, once we get that, it's all lifestyle from that point forward? Like all the decisions are about lifestyle. Or are you like, oh, if we can get this to, 200,000 and then 500,000, like we're going to go for $1 million. Like what do you think?
I think I need to hire you to be my coach, because I really haven't thought about that. I feel like I mean, that isn't something we even talk about, like, other than my goal was to book 10 weddings, and we're not there yet, like in a season, in one season, and we're not there yet. But now, because we didn't book 10 weddings this year, I pivoted, because that's what you do when you're a driven person. You pivot and you decide, okay, if that's not going to be what we're doing, then we're going to do other things. We're going to bring in music. We're going to bring in artists. We're going to have other types of events. And, and so I think that just like keeping that open mind and moving forward has been really great. And um and yeah, I don't know if I answered your question, but
Yeah, no, it's I just like knowing what your thought process is right now and where you are just with all of it being year one, it's kind of this emotional you're I remember being in year one of business and you're just kind of like operating sometimes without a whole lot of time to necessarily like evaluate all the steps because it's you're in it.
right.
So how are you going to grow this thing? Like what are the strategies that you're going to use to pull more people there, whether it is for
Mm.
the barn concerts or your science series and your kids series and your art series? How are you going to get the word out?
So this is really funny. John and I were not on social media before we started our business. Can we just pause for a minute? Like that is pretty crazy this day and age. Um, we just, John's never been on social media. He just opted out. And I was on and off a little bit. I've been burned. We'll say it that way. So I was taking a break, kind of a long break. And then we were like, you know what? We can't not be on social media, right? We knew we needed a beautiful website, but so there was a huge learning curve there for me to be able to start posting and kind of figure out my way around like how to get the message out. And it's a whole thing, the whole marketing piece. So to answer your question, we're still figuring that out in real time and making mistakes, and we're going forward anyway, kind of thing.
What about the smaller communities that you had mentioned that are near you? Like how are you near any universities? Are you near
Yes.
any
Yes. And that's actually one of my strategies, is to post, do some direct like advertising to some of the colleges around us. And so that'll be like in the next 3 months, because that's going to be kind of more for the venue side of things. So posting about our barn concerts, but also for like weddings, because that's sort of the target market, that age group. Um, I would say that because we did some market analysis. I'm saying that wrong, but that's like real estate. That's my other job. Market, where you figure out, okay, what's my market, and is this a good idea to open this type of business here? What we found was our sort of who's buying wine, who's coming to wineries in our area are a lot of women, like predominantly women, older women, middle-aged older women. So we were on Facebook. We're doing lots of posts about events that we're buying ads when we feel like we should. But we just paid someone to renovate do our website, like a proper website, because guess what? We did our own website. I don't recommend it. um, no, it was fine. It was just, we did our best, and there was a lot we didn't know. So we, uh, yeah, we have a new website, and we're happy that it's doing what we need it to do. Um, so I'm open. I'm totally open to any kind of advice about like how to get the word out, because that's new for me. I was never in those types of positions in my life, having to sell things. I've always been like, well, if they want something, if somebody wants something, they will go and get it, which is so bad.
well, and this is a Your business is one that I've never really run before. I think you're doing the right thing with the community events because that's going to draw people there hopefully repeatedly. And I am the wrong person to ask when it comes to social media because I am like you, I think, where I might post like once a month, maybe. I might be on there just seldomly. I know it's an effective strategy, but I do think there's other things that you can do in real life, especially if you are near those university type campuses and you're offering students or people, I should say, a fun activity for a weekend. You know,
Yeah.
Mark's friend, he owned bars in New Zealand, and they used to find the connectors on the campuses, and they would give those connectors t-shirts
Mm,
to give out to other people for free that were branding for the bar itself or whatever it was that was trying to draw people in. And if you had one of these t-shirts, you got free admission.
mm.
And so it became kind of this fun little way to organically on the ground spread the word about, hey, there's this new venue. They've got a cool band coming in. Let's all go. And it's free to get in because you've got a t-shirt. So I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but just thought I'd throw that out there.
That's a great idea. Actually, Mabel, she was 10 at the time, designed our first T-shirt for Wolf and Fox. So it's her illustration of a wolf and a fox. They're facing each other. And so that's like, we just have like one run of them. So I can even do that. I
Yeah,
can
it's like
put that in.
that. I mean, you could do a hat. Anything to kind of like get the branding out there and people talking about it is kind of fun. And um, okay, so what have you learned in this process that you think if somebody is listening in, you could help shortcut it for them?
Um, it has more to do with like deciding that you're not gonna be good at everything right away and like being okay with that, like leaning into that because there's so much. I mean, unless you come from a background with entrepreneurs around you that can give you advice, like great, but we weren't those people. So, starting out, if you're someone like me who is like, I have a dream, I want to make this work, I'm a hard worker, I'm willing to do what it takes. It also takes, I'm willing to make mistakes and learn from them. I'm willing to ask for help. I'm willing to reach out to people, mentors, like people that are doing what you want to do and, and just learn what you need to learn, that's that's the main part, is just like having the dream is easy. It's like putting yourself out there and being vulnerable is harder. And I think that is something that we're continually doing, like, oh, I tried to post, like, for example, I tried to post, a website link in Instagram. Oh, you can't do that or whatever. Like, I've had people just like, oh, I see you're trying to do this thing, how cute is that, and then being like, oh yeah, yep, I did that, moving right along.
I love that you guys are because this has the potential to turn into as big of a business as you want it to turn into, which was the other reason why I was asking you, like, what are you what are you visualizing? Like, so let's say next year, okay? What does this look like to you in a year? And then say 5 years. What does it look like to you in 5 years? What is your ideal?
I think that it would be so great if I was in a position to be able to focus 100% on this, and let go of my day job. And so for me, that would be my 1 year, my goal. I don't know what that looks like yet. Um, and then like 2, 3, 4, 5 years, it's about making great wine, great connections in the community, being a hub. I really want people to associate our name, our brand, as not just a winery, like a fantastic winery, but also just like a place they want to go and relax and hang out and like learn and find their people and feel like there's a lot of positive things happening, because there's a lot of things in the world that are chaotic and hard. And I just want our place to be a place that people feel like, no, I want to go there. I want to spend time there. I want to camp there, go to a music festival there, or whatever it is, to be a hub and to be a light.
Ooh, you just said music festival.
I did.
That sounds bigger than a barn concert. So,
Yeah,
what is this? Do you want to have a festival there?
I do actually. We talked with the very first band that we had over last year was June 7th. It was our opening day. No, June 1st, our opening day, the very first day we sold wine. We had a band. And that day, I talked to the lead singer of the band, the Wick Snippers is her name. And we were dreaming up after the set. I was like, it would be so great to have a day long music festival here. We have all these bathrooms, great parking. We have these, we could do multiple stages. Like it could be amazing. And so I planted the seed, and at some point I'll water it.
I might know a couple of people who could help you bring that vision to reality.
I'm all ears.
Yeah, we'll
I'm
talk.
all ears.
It could be it could be a rev share situation, but they bring in their expertise and experience with running music festivals, and then you do a rev share. You provide the land and the facility.
Yes, that would be perfect. I mean, honestly, that would be amazing. And we're talking small scale, right? Because we have, it's not like we can have thousands of people it's a dead end road in the middle of a very rural area. So um, it would be, there would be it'd be a small scale one.
Sounds exciting, though. I really think I know a surprising number of people who are actually in this industry, but not out there, out here on the West Coast. I think I know 3 or 4 people, and it can be very lucrative for a weekend.
But is it like fun and relaxing for the organizers?
Well, I think that is you bring people in, right? You're going to bring in the team that is used to
Yeah.
producing that scale of an event, and then you learn from them while they're there. Okay, just as a final question here, if you could go back and talk with yourself when you were in your early 20s, what life wisdom would you give yourself?
Don't be afraid of taking chances and learning new things. Like be open. Just keep staying open to the experiences that you're having. Be brave. Do hard things. Do them often. Um, Surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, that you can learn from. People that are doing things that you admire. Um, I feel like that's the advice I would give. But then I would also say, like, girl, you got this. Like, you so got this. Like, keep going. And even, there's going to be hard times. But again, like, um, I just, I guess I would just say to my 20-year-old self, like, keep going. You got this. Yeah.
Kerri, it was so great to catch up with you. I can't wait to keep on following along and checking in and seeing how your business is growing. And thanks for coming on the show and sharing where you are today and what got you there.
Thank you so much, Anne. It was my absolute pleasure to be here.